Hello and welcome to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. In this segment, James and I talk about the Dunning-Kruger Effect, where on the one hand, you might think you're better at things than you actually are, and the flip side, you might think you suck where you really don't. Hope you enjoy.
Hey, Pat.
Yes, James.
So, I was remembering the other day that I once asked my mom, how good am I?
Really?
Yeah. You know what she said?
No.
Good enough.
Wow. I
Yeah.
love your mom. She's so cool.
Yeah, she was one of the good ones, but it left me a little dry.
Really?
Yeah, good enough. I mean, come on, Mom.
You wanted you're the best.
Yeah, I wanted to hear something, a little bit more uplifting.
Right.
But it was more like, you're good enough, right? And so I thought of that because I'm poking around, I'm down in the library again, looking around, and I came across this thing, what gets in the way of creativity?
Mm.
And there is this line that says, you rationalize and never improve.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways to read it. I think there's probably people who are experts on this stuff who go, oh, yeah, I recognize that as a theory that says X, Y, and Z, right? But the way that I read it is that you rationalize, what I've done is good enough and better than most. So I don't need to work on crafts. I just need to work on getting the right person to read it, or, all these things that have nothing to do with becoming a better creative.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Or you rationalize the reason I got, rejected for that residency was because they don't like Canadians,
Yeah, the anti-Canadian bias in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're kind of making shit up because then you don't have to look at your own work and go, oh, what was wrong with that? Like, what can I improve on? Not so much to beat yourself up, but just to go, maybe I could have improved some of that.
Yeah, it's almost like there's a blindness to your shortcomings, right?
Yeah.
Which then leads into the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Which is where someone, and I think you may have a better grasp of how to phrase it, but the way that I think of it is someone who doesn't have enough experience, knowledge, or skills to understand either that they're not good at something or where they're not good at something.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one half of the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Oh, there's another half?
Yeah. Yeah. There's people who are good at something and think that they're just average or even below average because they don't know that the skills they've developed in this area are above average. So they tend to discount their own abilities and may not, step up for positions that require skill in this area because they don't see themselves as having skill in this area. So it's the flip side of the coin. You've got the people who think they're really good because they have no understanding really of what's actually required, or they have so little understanding that they can look at their own work and go, you know what, that's what this needs to be. This is the perfect way to do it, without having seen anybody else's work or really understood how good they have to be to succeed. And then there's the people who are already working at a high level, but are sort of biased against their own ability because they don't see it as unique or, high level. They don't see themselves as high level.
Yeah. So that second one is interesting because I remember, and I think I still will feel this way often, but I would read other people's work, right? And I would think, oh, they're so much better than I am. I'm terrible.
Yeah.
And there was sort of two sides that, one, it was diminished my self-confidence, but the other is that it said, you got to get better.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of spurred me on. But then you get to, I think as you go along, or as I went along, you start to become aware that I'm reading this other person's work free of all my own personal biases.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And every time I read my work, it's got every bias that I have, plus, probably, my, blindness to where I'm good, but blindness to where I'm falling short, all those kinds of things,
Yeah.
Which, God bless my mom, you're good enough. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I would have given my left arm for my mom to tell me I was good enough.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
Yeah. Well, she
Yeah.
should have.
Yeah. I mean, good enough to me, it's a compliment. You're good enough for whatever you want to do. You are good enough. You can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just how you view things sometimes. But I remember now I was the first year of my MFA program, the first probably month of my MFA program, I wrote to my advisor, and my cover note said, I read good writers, and I'm in despair. Like, my shit sounds terrible compared to theirs. And what he said was, that's a good sign. It's a
Hmm.
good sign to understand the difference between you and a famous writer's work. Your work, there has
Hmm.
to be a difference. You're in this program for a reason. You're where you're at for a reason. You're not, you did these things well. He didn't really break it down like that, but a lot of his responses to my writing were really super positive, like but he was also saying realistically, it makes sense to feel that way and use it as a spur to not giving up. Like, keep hammering and don't take it as a sign you should quit, because
Hmm.
everybody goes through this. If you're going to be a professional writer or a high level writer, you have to be able to handle that feeling of being inadequate.
Hmm. Yeah, or any artist,
Yeah,
really,
true.
and it's funny you see, there's people who will look at a piece of modern art, and I'm not always the biggest fan of modern art because, that so much context is really important to understand it, and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
But somebody goes, well, if I could paint that, it's not art, right?
Right.
Well, you're overestimating your ability to paint that with
Right.
meaning,
Yeah.
intention, and all the skills that this other person is bringing to that piece of creation.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, if you're another artist, you might look at it and say, I could never do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, do you mean like just abstract modern art, or do you mean all kinds of modern art?
Yeah,
Yeah.
any
Okay.
where somebody has that experience. And I
Yeah.
think it's interesting that when I read really good poetry, I think it could be easy to read it and think, oh, I could do that, because it's
Hmm.
such limited use of language.
Yeah.
When you read really good poetry, it feels obvious.
Yeah.
You
So
know what I
funny.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And until
But
you try and write poetry.
right.
And then I cannot imagine. I mean, I wrote a long poem in math class in sixth grade. I thought it was very Lady of Shalott or whatever that, Sir Walter Scottish. And I just thought I was a genius. Genius. I read it again with incredible fondness and like, wow. And then, 30 years later, I tried to write a poem for my sister. Um, and it was like, I ended a little song, a little dance, a little seltzer down your pants. Like, I just couldn't not say anything meaningful.
It's funny because I was going to bring up lyric writing, and there's that same sort of, it's so obviously, and I'm going to pull out two artists and, whatever, but, Bob Dylan, right?
Yeah.
You read, and there's a certain obviousness to it,
Yeah.
but at the same time, nobody else did it. And, I think about like the Beatles, and there's a certain obviousness to their, but nobody else could come up with it. And anytime I've tried to write a lyric,
Yeah.
it sounds like the sappiest piece of crap.
Oh, I know.
Oh, it's terrible. It
I
is
couldn't.
absolutely terrible,
Yeah.
and it's not until you actually engage and try to do it that you realize how hard it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty flowers. You
Shelter
know?
in your pants. That's your jazz standard, right? Yeah, she moves like she's got seltzer in her pants. and and then there's another rationalization that I think people do to kind of keep themselves going. And the example that I came up with is, you're feeling kind of down, gatekeepers are saying no, or you're just struggling with something, and then you remind yourself, because you remember the story of Maya Angelou. I think it's Maya Angelou. The day that she won the Nobel, is she also received a rejection,
Mm,
right?
okay.
And so you think, well, if Maya Angelou on the day that she won a Nobel received a rejection letter,
Yeah.
then I can keep plugging away. And
Yeah.
I think we're really looking at apples and oranges there. You know?
Well, yeah, it's so fraught. Like even okay, so I think it speaks to, objectivity. Like we're talking about how can you know if what you're doing is artistically viable
Uh-huh.
is by how it's received. That's basically all you've got to go on. And so I think this sort of delusionality around the Dunning-Kruger effect. Well, okay, so there's two ways. You rationalize about why you don't get into certain things or your art doesn't get picked up by certain, anywhere, basically. Nobody's buying it, right? You never improve because you're rationalizing. You're saying, "Oh, it's because I picked the wrong show to enter." You're not looking at your own stuff as a barometer. But at some point, you got to go. The fact that I'm completely unsuccessful at
Mhm.
90% of the shit I try is a sign of something. And it might be a sign that I'm picking the wrong things to go for, or it might be a sign that I'm working on the wrong stuff, or there's something subpar
Mhm.
comparatively about my stuff. And so my way of dealing with that whole area was to never send anything out for probably
Mm.
8 years. I didn't send anything out. I
Mm.
wrote a lot. I wrote a couple novels. I wrote 3 or 4 novellas.
Mhm.
Uh, I just
Yeah.
never sent it
So
out.
little self-sabotaging there.
Yeah, totally self-sabotage because I was like, I've been unsuccessful for a little stretch of time. I had a hard time navigating the traditional publishing industry. Like I had an agent and stuff, but I just couldn't get my book sold. And I know why now because I've looked at it 10 years later and gone, well, it's because it's so flawed. But at the time I was like, I don't get it. Everybody says it's good,
Mhm.
but it's not going anywhere. Is there something that, so I just stopped sending stuff
Mhm.
out. I had to deal with my feelings. I didn't know why I was not sending stuff out. I just wasn't.
Yeah. So that's that part of Dunning-Kruger where you're underestimating your abilities, right? Instead of
Yeah,
overestimating.
maybe.
And
Yeah.
and so the question then, to narrow in a little bit is how do you find that happy middle or that happy balance where you're able to recognize or have maybe a process to be able to recognize here are the things that I need to improve on. Here's where
Yeah.
I'm falling short.
Yeah.
Here I've got this. I'm doing this well. This is in my tool belt.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe dialogue or who knows what. But
Yeah.
how do you find that headspace where you're open to what you're good at and what you're not good at?
Yeah. Yeah. How do you? There's probably a bunch of things you can do. Do you have any ideas? I have a
You know,
couple.
I think with a lot of stuff, just being aware that this exists
Yeah.
and that you need to be able to have this, I don't want to say constant evaluation of what you're good and what you're bad at, because that is too much, I think. But
Yeah.
the ability to maintain a balanced perspective. And I'm not, so I think that's the first thing is, okay, there's Dunning-Kruger, the two sides of the coin, and I need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
And then the other is, I'm not really sure. I think that's a really hard one because it's hard to have that perspective of your own work.
Yeah.
Thinking back to reading other people's work and thinking, oh, they're so great and I'm so bad.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I have a thought. So I think you're right. Part of understanding what's going on is that to be able to listen to your thinking and go, am I rationalizing right now?
Hmm.
That, if I'm rationalizing, that means I am getting stuck on the problem not being me. The problem is
Hmm.
something out there in the world. It's either, they don't like Canadians or whatever, I'm flying to the wrong stuff or the self-sabotage part is okay, I'm going to stop. And for me, I kind of looked at it as I just need to get better at this craft. I'm going to not send stuff out, but I also I would think, I'll send this one out, and then I wouldn't do it. I'd miss the deadline by 15 minutes or something like that. Like I just total self-sabotage. So be aware of your own behavior and think, oh, I'm rationalizing, I'm self-sabotaging. And also maybe practically set yourself up for some slightly easier wins. If you tend to be on the side where I'm not good enough and you know that about yourself, maybe find some stuff that you can sort of succeed at. You may not care about it as much as winning the Booker Prize, but it's an easier win. And then you can put it in your self-esteem box, for example. But, then you'll get a little bit more of a balanced perspective because you'll have this, I'm talking about the flip side of the well-known Dunning-Kruger. You'll have this idea that you're, okay, maybe I'm shitty, but I did succeed in this and I did have that happen. And so that, maybe I'm not as shitty as I thought.
Yeah.
And then if you're on the, I'm awesome and my shit is going to sell like hotcakes or whatever your definition of success is. I'm going to win the Booker because I'm so awesome. Look at whether, what you're thinking, like what's your actual thinking. And that is a clue to you that you might be the overconfident, my skills are amazing, assessor of your own situation. You know what? If that's your, like, I don't have that view. So it's hard for me to put myself in the shoes of somebody who thinks they're really good when they're not. I probably do it in other arenas. Oh God. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure I do. Like oh yeah. The gorge is rising in my throat when I think about how confident I am about some stuff that I'm should not be confident about.
Yeah, me as a dancer. That would be one.
Oh my God.
I have so much confidence. It's obscene. It's
I have the same issue. Sometimes I think I'm killing it on the dance floor, but
I feel like I'm killing it, but I'm actually, people are going, oh God, it reminds me of the donkey at the farmer's.
Adam's Family. Yeah. So what if in that case you give yourself a clue to like actually look at the faces of the people around you when you're doing what you think you're good at. See if there's dismay or pity on their faces, and the other part is just look at your results, right? If you're not getting the results you want, and are you in a position of power where you shouldn't be? It's pretty rare, I think, for that to happen to artists, but if it does, maybe you should think about.
Well, I think I totally, look at your performance, and if you're underperforming where you want to be, then is it bias against Canadians or is it, and even if it is bias against Canadians, you still need to figure out a way around that, right? And so you've got to do that deeper thinking.
Yeah. And by the way, I was joking. Everybody loves Canadians.
I know they do.
I'm joking about that too.
No, they really do. Everywhere you guys go, it's big. We can
be shits just like the next person.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Never.
No. All right. Thank you. Oh, you're
okay. All right. I'm going back to the library.
Okay, good. Clean up after yourself this time, okay?
Okay. Sorry about the last time.
It's okay. You know what? I have the rubber gloves in the bucket down there for a reason.
Yeah, it was a big accident. Maybe we'll talk about that in another episode.
We don't have to. Thanks so much for listening to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Hope you have a great creative week.